board, and we will do our best to get them answered. When directing testimony to this board, please announce your name and address clearly for the record. Please silence or turn off your cell phones. If you need to have a conversation, please feel free to step out into the hallway. Ms. Cameron, are there any changes to today's agenda?
There are none.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions before we begin?
No.
No.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the Public Board of Assessors meetings from February 6th, 2020 regarding a statement correction?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the non-public and public Board of Assessors meetings from February 20th, 2020, accept them and place them on file?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Are there any errors or corrections? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of accepting the minutes as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve the Board of Assessors decision report from the February 20th, 2000 meeting as presented?
Make that motion.
Is there a second?
And I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. New business. At this time, we're going to recognize Ms. Kleiner regarding the division update. Ms. Kleiner?
Good morning. This past Monday, March 2nd, this board, Vision Government Solutions, our contractor for the 2020-22 revaluation, and the New Hampshire Department of Revenue had a very successful public revaluation startup meeting. The video of this meeting can be accessed on our website and via YouTube. We have provided local newspapers a press release and posted a news alert on our website, the official city Facebook page, and our government access TV channels. Vision data collectors began visiting homes on Tuesday, March 3rd in Ward 1. All Vision employees and vehicle information has been supplied to the National Police Department. Any resident who has questions regarding the process can visit the website, email, or call our office. The deadline for the 2019 abatements was March 1st. Due to the deadline falling on a Sunday, applications were accepted in our office until Monday, March 2nd. We will continue to process applications received by mail postmarked by March 2nd. Preliminary numbers are as follows: commercial 108, residential 40, fire proration 5 for a total of 153. We have interviewed and an offer has been accepted to fill the vacancy of the assessing administration specialist vacated by Ms. Cameron. The individual is an internal candidate and tentatively will join our department on March 23rd. We would like to propose to the board a presentation by our staff on the new AP5 CAMA system and the improvements from Assess Pro Classic. This presentation would be about 10 to 15 minutes in length, and we would suggest the second meeting in April. Progress has been made on the mapping of the MS1, which is our report that's due to the Department of Administration, Department of Revenue. We thank our IT department and Patriot Properties for their continued commitment and dedication. This has proved to be very challenging. We will be dual entering in both CAMA systems until after file capture for the July tax bills. Lastly, we have received a few requests from residents inquiring on assessment changes. We always encourage residents to review their property record cards. The 2019 card is available through WebPro, which can be accessed from the city website, the assessing department page. Your current card, as on the CAMA system now, can be requested in person or by submitting a request by email off of our website. If you receive your tax bill and your assessment has changed, and you are unaware of what that change may be, our staff is always willing to assist you and answer any questions. Notices are sent to residents whose assessments increase or decrease $20,000 or more with a specific change. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Kleiner?
There are none.
No.
Ms. Kleiner, the number of abatement applications for the second year following a reassessment, is this representative of what has happened historically, do you know? Or, you may not know that off the top of your head, I suppose.
So looking back at data, this is what we would expect to see in a normal year. So we're happy to see these numbers. We want to say these are preliminary. There are a few that are straggling in, so these numbers may change, probably plus or minus 5, 10, not significantly. We do accept applications past the deadline, and we have a process for reviewing those, but the deadline was officially March 2nd because of the Sunday date.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I
Yes.
follow up with a question, too? I noticed that about 2/3 of the abatement requests are from commercial properties. Is that common as well?
It is more common to see more commercial properties than residential, looking at our numbers in past years.
Okay, thank you.
All right. At this time, the chair recognizes Louise Brown.
Good morning.
Good morning.
With the assessing department. So I have just a couple of items for you today. The first is current use, land use change tax warrant that was signed back in 2004. The original was signed in 2004. It was issued, it was signed by the tax collector. The property owner did not record it at the Registry of Deeds, and they're closing on this property, and without this, it doesn't clear their title for them. So this is just a duplicate, so they can record it at the Registry of Deeds, because it has to be an original that's recorded there.
So the 2,800ths of an acre is being used for what then?
There's a house there
Is that-
currently.
Okay,
So it was released back in 2004, and a house was put on the site. But this document was never recorded by the
Okay.
taxpayer, so.
all right, okay. And then you have solar exemptions also?
I do. So that is the second item for you. Solar exemptions with a recommendation of approval.
So is there a motion to approve the solar exemptions per the attached list?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Ms. Brown?
And the final item that I have here is a warrant for timber that was cut in the city.
Are there any questions on that?
No.
This is far more common in the rural regions of the state than for the city of Nashua, correct? I mean, we don't receive.
Timber
timber-
cut, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we don't get these too often compared to the northern country, for sure.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve the timber tax warrant as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
And I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Does that conclude your report?
That does. Thank you very much.
Thank you. At this time, the chair recognizes Michael Mandiel regarding an abatement presentation. Good morning, Mr. Mandiel. How are you?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I'm fine. And yourself?
All right, thank you.
Good. I just have one abatement for public. For the public, it's 5 Edson Street, and it's filed for data corrections. The gentleman removed a pool and a patio. I did an inspection on the property and made a couple of other corrections, all of which lowered the assessment from $3,077 to $287,000.
Are there any questions?
No questions.
No questions.
So is there a motion to grant the abatement for 5 Edson Street?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Does that conclude your report?
It does.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Unfinished business, we have 317 Amherst Street. Who's presenting on that?
That's just to be voted on. It was voted in non-public last meeting, so Mr. Bergeron and Mr. Early should vote on that.
All right. So,
Actions taken in non-public are valid. You don't have to do votes in both public and non-public unless you want to. But a vote taken in a properly entered into non-public session is valid. You can unseal a portion of the minutes if you wanted, showing just the vote. If that's something, if you wanted that vote public. The action, of course, is public too, right? If it was an approval of an abatement. But if there was just a misunderstanding there, I wanted to correct that from.
I think it's just, looking back in history, that's what they've done, is they've always come back into public session to vote on it. So just for transparency and just so they're not trying to.
Or did it result in a signed settlement agreement?
It did.
So the transparency would be that there's a public signed settlement agreement that's signed by board members. But again, it's simply just to let you know that it is valid. Of course, if you want to have, a redo or unseal minutes, that's within your prerogative.
unless there are any objections, I would move on to the appointments. Are there any objections?
No.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Attorney Lennon. Mrs. Ortolano?
Do I have to push this to speak?
Does she need to push
No,
that,
I don't
Ms.
think so.
Cameron?
Okay, hopefully everyone can hear me. Lori Ortolano, 41 Berkeley Street. Just with what was said and Lynn presented on the signed settlements or coming into public and voting, I would encourage you to do that. I think she is absolutely right. It is much more transparent. And for myself, I have to go and request to get copies under right to knows to look at those settlements, correct? Where are they? Where are those settlements available to me, Dan?
Oh, it's a comment period, Mrs. Ortolano. It's not a question or comment period, it's a comment period.
Actually, you do say you answer questions and you'll get answers, so, and you have done it before, so that's why I'm asking. But, okay, so here's a question. How do I get those settlement agreements and where are they available to me? Does it force me to have to go through a right to know to see how issues are settled? I would much rather be able to see it in the minutes and not have to put the administration through right to know requests. So please consider doing what Lynn said and making them transparent. Now, I addressed at the last meeting pool tables, the data on swimming pools. Did you as a board think about that or discuss whether you would be willing to make changes in the pools tables? I'm assuming you didn't, because nobody's willing to answer me. That's okay, but I just wanted to give you an opportunity to do it before I went public on some issues regarding this, and I was hoping that you would do something so I wouldn't go public with issues like this. But you've answered my question with no answer. Thank you. Another question is, do we have anyone in the assessing department who can reevaluate a subset of properties? Angelo Marino was capable of looking at subsets of properties to do revaluations, because assessors, in between updates or revaluations, can reassess groups of properties that have fallen far out from the ratio determined by the DRA. That's legal, and it's allowed. And my understanding in the past is Angelo would do that. He would look at a property group that had fallen below the ratio and try and pull it back up so that when you went that 5-year period, that group of properties wasn't killed in the update by seeing assessments go up 50% or more, or doubling. Now, I happen to talk to a few ASB members up at the state, and they, in fact, they do that. I had a detailed discussion. And when you do that reevaluation of a subset, it is turned into the DRA as part of your update material. They keep track of it. What subsets are you looking at? So When the DRA came in on Monday, they spoke about the fact that mobile homes have dropped to a ratio of 77%, but the ratio is 88.8. That's a perfect set to go in and do a reevaluation on. Take that subset of homes and reset them, because they're really sliding. And if you wait 5 years, they're potentially going to be the people that see the biggest impact, and they also tend to be the people who have the lowest incomes. So one of the concerns I have is we have lost the ability to do these subset resets when the ratio is dropping. So another question I have, has there been any discussion on outsourcing commercial appraisals and assessments in this city? I think that the commercial aspect of our assessing office is really hurting when it comes to manpower and work. And it's also a very difficult subset of properties to assess. And it seems to me, we discussed outsourcing. The Board of Aldermen discussed it briefly. 2 aldermen had asked the mayor to come forward with a plan to look at outsourcing, and then it got dropped. Nobody followed up on it. I'm bringing it back because I see enough issues in this office that I'm concerned, but the one area that I think is incredibly difficult for the city to manage is the commercial properties. And they are a tricky set. I think that's a really tricky group of properties, even to get through abating with those properties. So my question is, has there been any conversation about outsourcing that part of our assessing function? I know you don't answer right now. A few meetings ago, a month ago, I addressed policy and the potential to develop some policy on some issues that I thought could use some policy development. Has there been any movement or interest on the part of the board to develop policy? Again, a non-answer is an answer. So I'm disappointed that you don't value policy the way I think policy should be valued as a board. I think policy serves a purpose. It's powerful. It gives the public an avenue to understand what's really happening. It gives us something we can voice on, and you're not doing it. That's really disappointing. So, thanks. Keep up the rubber stamp work. You're doing an awesome job.
Okay. Comments by board members?
I have none.
I feel I should say something. Mrs. Ortolano has brought up a couple of questions, but it's not our position to answer the questions right now. And it doesn't, she shouldn't take it yes or no as an answer to the question.
Okay. We do need to schedule a meeting with council to address the proposed changes to the current policies and procedures. And it would look like next week, the latter part of next week, either Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. Would that work out for the rest of
Should
the
be
board?
fine for me.
Next week, I'm in session on Wednesday and Thursday.
Would Friday work out?
Would it be possible to start at 8:15 on Wednesday or Thursday? If we started earlier, you know, I could be all right with that.
So Friday's not a good day?
Friday's okay, too. Whatever works for the committee is good. I didn't know if you'd like to stay with the traditional Thursday meetings, that's all.
I mean, I've got, a lot of flexibility in my schedule, so the Thursday is not a big deal. Would Friday late morning, would that work?
It's fine with me.
It's good with me.
And you'll check your schedule
I
and
will.
just confirm?
I will do that, yep,
Okay. All right.
thanks.
Okay. Any other comments by board members?
No?
All right. So, Ms. Cameron, I don't think I have all of the non-public motions on this sheet. got the legal advice motion and the seal the minutes motion, but usually the sheet's more comprehensive.
But it's pretty basic, because there's no exemptions or credits, so it's just basically towards the legal matter of it.
Okay, is that right?
Yeah, that's great.
All right, so thank you. Is there a motion to go into non-public for purpose of consideration of legal advice provided by legal counsel pursuant to RSA 91-A:3, comma, Roman numeral 2, parenthetical 1?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Early?
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron?
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry? Yes, so we are in non-public, Ms. Cameron, by my watch at 9:23.